Hello, hello, hello out there in the world of YouTube. Um, Today is March 8th, 2018. It happens to be my day 300 today. Before we know it, it'll be a year on hormones, I think. Well, 2 months away. Anyway, um, I want to do two videos today. Ooh, look at that. One is going to be about the results of my surgical consultation or pre-op. It was not a consultation, it was an information gathering as well as dissemination session. So I'm going to do that separately, and I think that video, if there's any videos on here that's going to stand out for someone transitioning, especially if you're thinking about GCS, then excuse me, I think that is the video that's going to be watched a little bit. So I want to kind of encapsulate that because that's very specific. So for this video, which should be pretty short, as you might imagine, I spent about 4 or 5 hours in the car yesterday by myself driving, there and back. It's very possible to do in one day, but I had a lot of time to just sit and think out in the BFE. And, and this is going to be about voice training, but obviously I'm talking in what I call my lower register, but I feel like there's just too many things right now going on in my life to try and do voice training, and we're going to have a kitty cat here in a minute. Hi, you going to come back and sit with me? You can sit with me. She's deciding. We'll let her decide. There's a couple things, and I'll share a story with you that really affected me back in the 90s. There we go. We're settling in here. But I had a friend of mine. His name was Ed, and we were playing. I was running a D&D game, and he was one of the handful of people that knew what I was up to when I was in college, transitioning, taking hormones, etc., etc. And he said something to me about, well, number one, having a girlfriend, I don't know why you would want to have PMS every month. He didn't know anything about the process, but he said, and then secondly, he said, I'm going to miss your voices. And I kind of said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, you tend to you mimic people, and you're able to, add comedy and as far as imitating someone, a politician or something. He said, but your D&D games are really good because you tend to use your voice as a tool, and it really kind of hit home to me that, yeah, I do. And I joke a lot with my daughter, and there are times that I guess the most equivalent probably would be like Smeagol from, not that I do Smeagol, but, being able to manipulate your voice in conversation and whatnot. I mean, it's something that I enjoy doing. And so that has been something that has been on my mind for the past month or two, is that I felt like I could keep my voice flexible, but to do myself justice, I really would have to commit to the upper register voice all the time. You know what I mean? It has to be a commitment. And to be honest with you, I don't think I'm ready for that kind of commitment. I'm not ready for that yet, and I may never be. But it's not fair, in my opinion, to wake up and be in my lower register and then my upper register, and then it's hell on the people in our lives. It's almost like we're schizophrenic and they don't know or we have multiple personalities, and they don't know who they're dealing with, you know. So there's that there. Another facet to it is that it's very, very hard on your throat. You can hear a lot of resonance in my throat today, just because you're pulling and you're stressing, you're stretching your muscle here to try and get it to do something new or develop a new home base to come out of. And so every cup of coffee, everything of tea, every cup of chili, every time I have salad with vinegar or lemon juice in it, I mean, my throat just burns. And I kind of take that as my body saying, hey, you're hurting me. Stop it. And so I kind of have to take that into consideration. And that's what I thought about yesterday more as I was driving to and from the surgery place is, you know, in about 20 some odd days, 21 days, there's going to be a lot of damage done to my body, you know, on purpose, as far as the GCS goes, the surgery goes. Things are going to be cut. Things are going to be maneuvered. Things are going to be stitched together. A lot of stress on my body. And I don't want to give my body competition. Not to say, I mean, there are definitely different magnitudes of healing going on. But I want, to be honest with you, I want all of my white blood cells where they need to be. I want all of my little healing microbes and units, and I can't describe it because I don't know it. I'm ignorant of how the body heals itself, I'll be honest with you. But I want my body as a whole to have all of its resources allocated to fixing or repairing or recovery, you know, healing or whatnot, you know. And so you know, I don't want to fight a battle on two fronts if I can avoid it. I want all of my resources in one spot. And so that's kind of another reasoning why I think, I don't want to say I'm giving up on the voice training, but it just, it says to me, for myself, that I'm trying to do too much. And so, you know, I have all the time in the world to develop a more female sounding voice, if you'll humor me in that idea. And then the third thing, and this will be the last thing for the video here, is, you know, all throughout my day yesterday, I dealt with people who had never met me before, okay? From the service clerk at the gas station that I filled up at, to the Taco Bell I went to. I'm very happy to say I went to Taco Bell, and gosh, it was wonderful. After not having Taco Bell for a year as a treat, you know, a burrito supreme and a taco supreme is all I had, and it was so good. Meat and cheese and sour cream. No toppings. Didn't need to add any extra to it. But there, at the hospital itself, I was in a different wing. I met with, and we'll get to that in the next video, I'm sure. I met with 3 different ladies, and all of them, everyone, treated me as a female yesterday with this voice. And that just makes me wonder if maybe I have some misconceptions about, number one, how I sound. And obviously today I'm rickety. I think my body went yesterday after I got back home, or after I found out that you know, that the shoe didn't drop, you know, which we'll get to in the other video. But you know, if we can humor ourselves for a moment and realize that people come in all shapes and sizes, and I've said this before too, people in the same way people come in all sounds, you know, all colors, all varieties, all sounds. And to say, you know, yes, it would be so very nice to not use the voice that we're used to. Like, we're making a change and the voice is part of that. And I think I've said that too. Presentation, in a way, it would be wonderful. But at the same time, how realistic is that? How realistic is that? And I was attuned to it yesterday, and I listened. Because as you might imagine, when you're in a hospital situation, there was 3 different pit stops I went to while I was there yesterday. And so I was in a couple different waiting rooms. And I had the ability just to sit and listen. Listen to how the people around me sounded. And for the women, and you could say for the men too, but for the women, there was no standard. You know what I mean? There were women who had raspy voices. There were women who had voices that flowed like honey, as you might imagine. Women who, like I said, raspy or deep, and women with high pitched. And so, again, it just made me question, why. Number one, was I wasting my time? But number two, I was reevaluating what my final outcome was, So there's that. So those are kind of 3 things that kind of made me say, hey, before you go on and do another video, I think it's worthwhile to address the voice, because, and let me add this there, and I apologize for adding another minute or 2 here, but my goal in this blog, video blog, has been to tell you the truth. And my hope is, if anyone watches the videos in sequence or whatnot, my hope, the takeaway is that this is a process that changes a person, obviously. That's why we do it. But it also has multiple facets of that change and experimentation. It's not just figuring out who you are and what eyeshadow you like and what's your foundation and how are you going to, interact with people. It's not just appearance, it's personality. It's definitely feelings and emotions. Obviously, we're dealing with estrogen. But I think, like I said, if someone was to watch all of the videos, bless their heart, in sequence, and they would say, my hope is they wouldn't say, well, there were times that Karen was fake or didn't seem authentic. And that might be true. But the takeaway, let's focus on that, is I have experimented as part of this journey. I have seen what worked best for me. And definitely what works best for me may not work for you. And that's where we're all different. Your mileage may vary, your journey may be different. But my hope, the takeaway is that throughout this process, I have experimented and I have tried different things, and I have not been afraid to try different things. And I think that if I was to die today, and I'm not saying I want to die, but if I was to die today, I can tell you I will die a happy person because I have tried different things, and I'm looking forward to the future, That said, all of the above, we'll end it here. I like to think that we're constantly learning. We're constantly trying things. We're constantly figuring out what works best for us. And so when it comes to my voice, I can tell you that in the last 8 or so hours, I felt very relieved. It's like I've kind of said, hey, this isn't something I'm going to mess with right now. I might mess with it one day, but I need to focus on other things. And we'll get to that in the next video. I got a ton of information and I need to process it and write up a schedule and figure out what day I stop what. and some really interesting things that IU has done that really makes it interesting. Or it makes me feel like they have thought this through, which of course you'd say, well, duh, of course they're. So what they do, it's a hospital. You know, they want you to succeed. They want you to heal quickly. And I think there might be some things in there that if a person was to go, let's say, to another doctor, and that doctor does not have any sort of program to help you get ready for your surgery physically and how to recover quickly, maybe there's some takeaways that you might find. So regardless of who your surgeon is, or even if you're thinking about GCS, and you know, God only knows what the future holds. Up until President Obama and the Affordable Care Act, which I know he was in office for 8 years, but I didn't really realize it until 2 years ago that thanks to the Affordable Care Act, you know, our GCS has to be covered by our insurance company. And I think we're in a mindset of, you know, well, gosh, how am I going to pay for my surgery? And I think we have to stop that and say, for the moment, it's treated as any other surgery. If you had if you had to get your pancreas or you had an appendicitis, how would you pay for it? You know, you had a broken arm and you had to be fixed. How would you pay for it? You know, that line of thinking applies to GCS, and we kind of have to train ourselves to think about GCS as treated as any other surgery. You know, you're going to have the hospital's going to have a bill, and they're going to negotiate with your insurance company. And so, yeah, the hospital may have a $26,000 bill, but because they have a negotiated rate with your insurance company, it might only be $12,000. And then if you have a high deductible healthcare plan or whatnot, you're probably only responsible for 2,000 or 3,000 of that, and that's it. So again, thank goodness, what was 5 years ago, oh my gosh, I have to come up with this money, 25,000, I'll never do it. Well, today it's 3,000. You know, and that's a heck of a lot more. That's an easier pill to swallow than 26,000. You know what I mean? That said, things could change. We definitely have an administration that currently that's really trying to undo everything President Obama did, seems like. And so, you know, how long this little, I'm going to say loophole, but how long this opportunity lasts is, I don't know. But I hope it sticks around. And if by chance the administration does change it, we can only hope that in the future, a future generation will undo the damage that was done. But all right, so that's it. And the short of it is, this is how I'm going to talk for a while, and it may be for the rest of my life. We'll go from there. Hopefully not as raspy, but definitely. And also, like I said, I'm half asleep. I'm half alive. Yesterday was a lot of stress, as you might imagine, and today is kind of the first day of recovery. So, but I thank you again for your patience, and I hope you can cut me some slack as far as with my voice and voice training and going back and forth. I'm sure it's annoying. And this journey continues for me. We're not done yet. And it might never be done. It might be forever. All right, but I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad I'm here. It's good to be alive today. All right, so I'm going to make a video here in a couple minutes. I'm going to take a little break, and I need to go through my paperwork, and then I'll be more coherent, I hope. All right, good luck. And if this is the only video you watch, definitely I wish you all good luck on your journey, and I hope that you can become the best version of yourself as you define it. Okay.